So imagine, if you will, that you are holding a map.
Okay.
But this isn't your standard, fold-out paper map you'd keep stuffed in the glove compartment. It doesn't chart continents or fault lines or even the topography of the ocean floor. It
Yeah.
doesn't even chart the stars in the night sky. I want you to imagine you are holding a cosmic map that charts the very architecture of the soul, the structural physics of religion, and literally the origin point of the universe itself.
That's a staggering image to begin with.
Yeah, you unroll it, and instead of longitude and latitude, you see the pathways of human consciousness just stretching out toward the infinite.
And it's so important to start there because when we usually think of religion or, spirituality, we tend to think in terms of rules.
Oh, absolutely. Rules and history.
Exactly. Historical events, or perhaps just these vague feelings of goodwill and moral direction. We very rarely think of it as a precise structural cosmology.
Right.
But the map we're looking at today really demands exactly that kind of rigorous structural imagination from you.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. Because today we are exploring a profoundly rich, just incredibly dense stack of texts.
Very dense.
Yeah. We are looking at the early writings of the Bab, specifically those composed before his public declaration in May 1844.
Which is a very specific, fascinating window of time.
It really is, and we're going to extract the core nuggets of his earliest spiritual treatises. So texts like the Risala fi Suluk, which translates to the Epistle on the Spiritual Path,
Right.
and another one called the Tafsir Suratul Baqarah.
And just to pause there, we should probably clarify what those texts actually are for anyone who's, following along.
Oh, yeah, please do.
So a tafsir is a commentary or an exegesis, and Suratul Baqarah is the longest chapter of the Quran, basically known as the cow.
Okay.
So when he writes a tafsir, he isn't just writing like an essay or a casual reflection.
Right, it's not just a blog post.
No, not at all. He is taking the most revered, fundamental text of his entire culture and radically reinterpreting its spiritual physics.
Man. And through these texts, we are going to unpack what he calls the 4 pillars of religion.
Nice.
We'll discover what this ancient framework means for your own inward journey today. And finally, we are going to connect all these concepts to this completely mind-bending metaphysical concept known as the divine point.
It is quite the journey.
It is. But before we dive into the deep end of all this theology, can you set the stage for us? Like, who is writing this and what is the world around him actually like?
Yeah, to truly appreciate what we are about to unpack, you have to understand the context of the author.
Okay.
We are looking at texts written by a young man, a merchant scholar in 19th century Persia, specifically in the city of Shiraz.
And he's what, in his early 20s at this point?
Exactly, in his early 20s. And outwardly, he was practicing intense restraint.
Restraint how?
Well, he was respected, very quiet member of society. He adhered strictly to the norms, the laws, and the daily rituals of Islam as was practiced all around him.
Okay, so totally blending in.
Completely. I mean, if you observed him in the bazaar, you would just see a perfectly pious, ordinary merchant.
Inwardly.
Inwardly, right, on the
Yeah.
pages we actually have in front of us today, he was articulating a revolutionary metaphysics.
Wow.
He was quietly rewriting the fundamental equations of love, existence, and unity. He was basically operating on a cosmic scale while just sitting at a normal merchant's desk.
Which is exactly what makes these texts so thrilling to read. I mean, yes, they are from the 1840s, and yes, they are these dense, highly technical theological documents.
Very technical.
But as we go through this, you are going to hit these incredible aha moments.
Absolutely.
Because there's a staggering amount of insight here about human psychology, about how we grow, about how we deceive ourselves, actually.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, and about what it actually takes to be a spiritually mature human being. It's an exploration of human nature that feels entirely relevant right now.
And this exploration begins, as all good structural explorations must, with the foundation.
Right. Where do we start?
Well, before we can explore the inward journey of the individual, we really need to understand the cosmic structure that you are actually navigating. We have to start with how the Bab defines the very foundation of religion itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. So in the Risala fi Suluk, the Epistle on the Spiritual Path, the Bab lays out a very specific architectural framework.
He does.
And he states that religion is established upon 4 pillars. So I'm going to list them, and then I want us to really dig into what they mean.
That was good.
So pillar 1 is the unity of God, or al-Tawhid.
Right.
Pillar 2 is the reality of prophethood, al-Nubuwah.
Okay.
Pillar 3 is the succession of authority, al-Walaya, and Pillar 4 is the community of followers, al-Shia.
Now, on the surface, to a scholar of Islamic history, these four pillars sound perfectly familiar.
They don't sound revolutionary yet.
No, they resonate deeply with traditional Shiite theology.
Yeah.
You have Tawhid, which is the absolute indivisible oneness of God.
Right, the ultimate reality.
Exactly. Then you have Nubuwah, the prophet, who brings the message from this unknowable God down to humanity.
Okay.
Then Walaya, which refers to the imams or successors who maintain the purity of that message and provide ongoing spiritual guidance.
Makes sense.
And finally, Shia, the faithful community that actually follows this guidance.
I mean, it just sounds like a standard hierarchy, doesn't it? Like God at the top, the people at the bottom.
It does. It totally does. But it's the caveat the Bab adds immediately after this list that turns the entire structure completely upside down.
Oh, really? What does he say?
He writes that these four pillars are, and this is a quote, four gates, the first of which cannot be sound without the last.
Wait, the first of which cannot be sound without the last.
Yeah.
So he is saying that the absolute abstract unity of God, the ultimate infinite reality of the universe, Pillar 1, is somehow mathematically or structurally unsound without a community of regular, everyday people following the path, which is Pillar 4.
Precisely. And this is a massive radical redefinition of what makes religion real, so to speak.
How so?
Well, traditionally, theologians across many different faiths have often treated the unity of God as this pristine, untouchable abstraction.
Right. God is out there, perfect and complete.
Exactly. God is one, God is perfect, and God is isolated in his majesty completely, regardless of what humans do down here on earth.
Like, it doesn't matter if we're here or not.
Right. The theological consensus was often that God's unity is a fact, totally independent of our recognition of it.
But the Bab is arguing that this abstract unity is practically incomplete without a living, breathing community of faithful people.
Yes.
Like, heaven needs earth to be realized. The divine blueprint literally requires a human building.
That's exactly it. I
Yeah.
mean, let's really think about what Tawhid, the unity of God, actually means in this context.
Okay.
If God is completely unified, completely one, but the community of humans on earth is fractured, divided, and hateful toward one another, then where is the unity?
Oh, wow.
The Bab is suggesting that divine unity isn't just a fact about God, it's a condition that must be manifested in creation.
So if we're fighting, unity doesn't exist.
Basically, yes. If there is no unity among the believers, the gate of Tawhid is fundamentally unsound.
I'm trying to picture this structurally. Let's use an analogy.
Sure.
It's kind of like an electrical circuit, right? You have a massive power plant generating just infinite energy.
Right.
That's the unity of God, the first pillar. But you can't just plug your toaster directly into a nuclear power plant. It would vaporize.
Right, obviously.
So you need a transformer station to step that massive energy down into a usable voltage. And that's prophethood, the second pillar.
I like this.
And then you have the wiring in the house, directing the current safely to the right rooms. That's the succession of authority, the third pillar.
That works really well. And the fourth pillar.
The fourth pillar is the community. It's the light bulb at the end of the wire.
Yes.
Because all of that power, all of that massive infrastructure, the entire grid, it means absolutely nothing if there is no light bulb to actually illuminate the room. If the light bulb is broken or, unscrewed, the circuit is open. The electricity has nowhere to go. Technically, from an electrical engineering standpoint, the whole system is, as the text says, unsound.
I really love that analogy because think about it. What happens when a circuit is open?
The power just sits there.
Right. The power remains latent. It remains completely theoretical.
Wow.
The Bab is elevating the community, literally the everyday interactions of you and your neighbors, how followers treat one another to the level of divine unity itself.
That's incredible.
The community is not just a byproduct of religion. It is the necessary completion of the circuit.
Which feels like a massive departure from how a lot of people historically practice spirituality, honestly.
Oh, it profoundly challenges traditional religious paradigms.
Because for centuries, across many, many traditions, there has been this prioritization of solitary asceticism, right?
Absolutely. The idea that to truly know God, to experience ultimate reality, you must retreat to a cave or a mountaintop or a monastery.
Yeah, you sever all ties with humanity.
Exactly. You try to bypass the community to get straight to the unity.
Right. It's the lone monk on the mountain trope. Or even the modern equivalent, the person who says, I'm spiritual, but I don't do organized religion. I just commune with God and nature.
We hear that all the time today. But this text argues that You cannot bypass the fourth pillar.
Mm.
If you try to achieve the unity of God without the community of followers, your religion is structurally unsound.
The circuitry is broken.
Yes, you are sitting on the mountain with a wire that isn't connected to a bulb.
Yeah.
It means that how you treat your neighbor, how the community functions, how people love and support one another, it's not just a nice moral addition to your spiritual life.
It's the whole point.
It is structurally required for God's unity to actually exist in the material world.
Okay, so we have this massive four-pillar architecture. We have God, the prophet, the successor, and the community,
The four gates.
right? Our power plant and our light bulb. But what is the actual energy running through the wire? Like, if these are four pillars holding up a structure, what is the mortar holding the stones together?
Well, the writings from this period give us a single, incredibly powerful answer to that.
And that is
Love.
just love.
What's fascinating here is how the Bab equates this entire four-pillar structure to what he calls the face of God.
Okay, the face of God.
Yeah, the text explicitly states that this structure is fundamentally, and I'll quote here, the love of the family of God, which is none other than the love of God himself.
So love is not merely some fleeting emotion in this cosmology.
Not at all. It is the ontological glue of the universe. It is the very fabric of existence.
And the text gets highly specific about how this love manifests inside you, too. It outlines four internal signs.
Right, the internal mirroring.
Yeah, it says that when the family of God is manifested within you, it shows up as four things: love itself, the beloved, the lover, and the one who is loved.
Notice the fourfold symmetry there.
Yeah, the four pillars of the external religion, God, prophet, successor, community, perfectly mirror the four internal signs within the human heart: love, beloved, lover, and loved.
It's beautiful. And the Bab ties this directly to a very famous Islamic tradition, a Hadith Qudsi.
Now, for those who might not know, what exactly is a Hadith Qudsi?
Good question. A Hadith Qudsi is considered a direct saying of God, related by the Prophet Muhammad, but it is distinct from the Quran itself.
Okay, so it's a separate tradition.
Yes, in this specific tradition, God says, I was a hidden treasure, and I love to be known, so I created creation that I might be known.
I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known. So the very act of creation wasn't out of boredom or a need for servants, but out of a desire for connection.
Exactly. Creation exists because God desired to be known.
That changes everything.
It does. Love is the pivot of all conduct. It's the prime mover of the cosmos. The universe is essentially an engine built for the express purpose of generating and exchanging love. The absolute unity of God desired to express love, and so it created the lover and the beloved to allow that love to be realized.
And the Bab actually maps this engine of love onto human history, doesn't he? Through what he calls the four scenes or the four covenants, which we see in the Tafsiri Surah Al-Baqarah.
Yes, the four covenants represent a sort of historical progression of humanity's relationship with the divine.
Okay, walk us through them.
Well, the first covenant is the primordial acknowledgement of God's oneness. It is the baseline realization that there is a single unifying reality.
That's step one.
Right. Then the second covenant is the acceptance of prophethood, the understanding that this reality actually communicates with us.
And the third covenant?
The third covenant is Gadir.
Okay, let's pause there because Gadir is a very specific historical and theological reference. We really can't just gloss over that. What is Gadir and why is it the third covenant?
So Gadir refers to the event at Gadir Qum. In Islamic history, specifically from the Shia perspective, this was the moment when the Prophet Muhammad, returning from his farewell pilgrimage, gathered the believers at an oasis called Gadir Qum.
Okay, so a major historical gathering.
Exactly. And there, he raised the hand of his cousin and son-in-law, Ali, and declared him as his successor, his wali.
Ah, okay.
It is the foundational moment for the concept of walaya, or this divine guidance continuing after the prophet.
So the third covenant is about the continuity of authority and maintaining unity. It's the wiring that keeps the current flowing after the initial burst of revelation.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, it prevents the community from fracturing. It is the covenant of sustained guidance.
Okay, and that leads us to the fourth covenant.
Right, which is associated with the Qam.
The Qam being the promised one of the end times in Islamic eschatology, correct?
Correct. One who will rise up to establish justice and truth in the world.
Okay, but here's where I have to ask a genuinely hard question.
Bring it on.
In the text, the Bab says that this fourth covenant, the covenant of the promised one, is veiled because, and I quote, creation cannot bear it yet.
Yes.
And he defines this future fourth covenant as a covenant of love written on the heart.
He does.
So if you are listening to this right now and trying to trace this historical arc, you might be thinking, wait a minute.
Right.
Does that mean that for thousands of years of recorded history, humanity just wasn't mature enough for pure love?
Yeah.
Like, were we just stuck on the rules of religion, the strict laws, the rituals, the physical scaffolding because we simply couldn't handle the core emotion of the universe? I mean, that feels a bit bleak, doesn't it?
I see why you'd say that, but it's not bleak. It's developmental.
Developmental.
Yeah. You were touching on a profoundly important question about spiritual evolution. Think about it this way. You can view the first three pillars and the rigorous laws of historical religions as scaffolding.
Like constructing a skyscraper.
Precisely. When a massive building is being constructed, you need a rigid external steel frame. You need absolute rules of physics and engineering.
Right. Do this, don't do that.
Exactly. Pour the concrete at this temperature, pray at this time, fast for this many days, follow this specific legal code. The scaffolding is essential. The building will completely collapse into a pile of rubble without it.
So you need the rigidity.
Yes. But the scaffolding is not the building itself.
The scaffolding is just there to hold the shape until the mortar dries.
Yes. And as we established earlier, the mortar is love.
Oh, wow.
The Bab is suggesting that humanity, collectively, has been in a long, arduous process of maturation. We were learning the architecture.
Learning the basics.
Right. We were learning basic discipline, community cohesion, and adherence to guidance. But when the four internal signs, the lover, the beloved, the love, and the loved, when those fully activate within the community, the scaffolding can begin to fall away.
Because the building can finally stand on its own.
Exactly. It reveals the true mature theology that God's love for creation and the community's love for each other are the exact same substance.
Oh, this is profound.
You couldn't just give humanity the pure love covenant right out of the gate in ancient times. We would have confused it with base desires or mere sentimentality or even complete anarchy.
Oh, definitely.
We simply didn't have the capacity for it. We needed the rigorous discipline of the first three covenants to build a collective heart capable of actually bearing the weight of the fourth.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. If you just tell a toddler, hey, do whatever you want out of love, they're going to eat ice cream until they're sick and then push their sibling down the stairs.
Right, exactly.
You have to give them strict rules first so they develop the empathy and self-control required to eventually act out of genuine love when they're adults.
That's a perfect analogy. The laws were the training wheels for love.
But that brings up a really crucial point about the mechanics of this. We have this grand cosmic framework of love and four pillars and historical covenants.
Right.
But how do you, the person listening to this today, actually walk this path? How do we individually journey inward to this pivot of love?
Well, the Bab gives a very radical, very difficult instruction for beginners on this path.
Okay.
In the Risala fi Suluk, he quotes a tradition where a prophet asks God, "How can one reach thee?" And God replies, "Cast away thyself and come unto me."
Cast away thyself.
Right. And then the Bab adds his own commentary to this, stating that for the beginner, one must turn away from what the soul desires because, and this is a vital quote, there is no veil more forbidding than one's own self.
Man, there is no veil more forbidding than one's own self. I have to say, looking at this from the perspective of modern culture, this is a massive collision of worldviews.
In what way? Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, think about modern therapeutic culture, self-help, wellness. I mean, the constant refrain we hear every day is find yourself.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Right. Love yourself. Focus on your ego. Protect your boundaries. Honor your personal truth. The self is treated as the ultimate sacred project.
It is the center of modern life.
Exactly. But these texts from the 1840s are telling us to cast away yourself, to view the self not as a sacred project, but as a forbidding veil.
It is a really stark contrast.
But here's where I get tripped up. At the exact same time, in the exact same body of text, the Bab also says, attaining unto the station of thine own reality is attaining unto thy Lord.
Guess he does.
So how do we reconcile this? Because if I cast away myself, what reality am I even attaining?
Right.
How do we reconcile knowing your own reality with casting away the self? Because if you read cast away yourself the wrong way, it just sounds like a recipe for intense self-loathing or even spiritual burnout.
It is a brilliant tension, and resolving it requires us to fundamentally separate the concept of the ego from the reality of the soul.
Okay, unpack that for us.
So in 19th century Islamic mysticism, and certainly in the Bab's writings, The NAFS has different levels. The source of the confusion here is that we use one English word self to describe two entirely different things.
Two different things. Okay.
The texts often resolve this using a very specific metaphysical framework, usually illustrated by the analogy of a mirror.
A mirror.
Yeah. Imagine that your soul, your core inner being, is a mirror.
All right, I'm picturing a mirror in my hand right now.
If you look at the mirror and your focus is entirely on the glass itself, the physical surface, the dust on it, the smudges, the ornate frame around it, maybe a scratch in the corner, that is the self that is a forbidding veil.
That's the ego.
In modern terms, yes, that is the ego.
Wow.
It is your anxieties, your base desires, your need for external validation, your obsession with your own image and status. If you fixate on the glass, you are trapped by it. You are just staring at the smudges.
And the Bob equates this state to something very specific, doesn't he?
He does. He completely redefines the concepts of paradise and hell.
Oh, this part's fascinating.
Yeah, in this cosmology, paradise and hell are not physical places you go after you die with actual fire or actual gardens. They are states of focus happening right now.
Right now.
Right. He writes, if your focus is on God, you are in paradise. And if your gaze is upon yourself, you are in the fire and in this world.
Staring at the smudges on my own mirror is literally hell.
Yes, because you are trapped in the claustrophobia of your own ego. The fire is the friction of your own self-absorption.
Wow.
But let's go back to the mirror analogy.
Okay.
If you polish the glass, and instead of looking at the surface of the mirror, you look into the mirror, what do you see? Assuming you're pointing it toward the light, of course.
You see the reflection of the sun. You see the light.
Exactly. You see the divine attributes. That reflection is your true reality.
So casting away the self means casting away the obsession with the physical glass. Stop worrying about the frame. Stop staring at the smudges.
Yes.
And attaining your own reality means realizing your true purpose is simply to reflect the light. Your reality isn't the glass. Your reality is the light inside the glass.
Exactly. The Bab explicitly says the instruments only point to themselves. If you only study the instrument, you miss the music. If you only look at the ego, you miss the divine reflection. To find your true self, you have to stop looking at your ego and start looking at the light it was designed to reflect.
So he who knows his true self knows his Lord.
Precisely.
Huh.
Because he who knows his true self as a mirror for the divine knows his Lord.
That reframes the entire inward journey. It's not about destroying yourself. It's about making yourself transparent.
I love that, making yourself transparent. And for anyone today dealing with the hyper-narcissism of the digital age, this is incredibly deep practical theology.
It really is.
You escape the anxiety of the ego, not by diving deeper into the ego, but by polishing the mirror to reflect something infinitely greater than yourself. You cast away the forbidding veil of the nafs, the ego, to attain the reality of the divine reflection.
Okay, let's pull the camera way, way back now. We've mapped out the inner psychology. We know we need to polish the mirror, get past the ego, and reflect the light. And we know that this ties into the 4 pillars and the community. But let's zoom out to the fabric of reality itself.
Okay, let's hear them.
Where does this mirror come from? Where does the light come from? Where do these 4 pillars actually originate in the cosmos? To answer that, the Bob takes us on a journey back to the very beginning of origination.
To a concept called the divine point.
Yes, the divine point.
This is where we transition from theology into high metaphysics.
Brace yourselves.
Seriously. So in the introduction to the Tafsir-e Surat al-Baqarah and another text, the Tafsir Surat al-Fatiha, the Bab introduces the concept of the point, or the nukta.
The nutka.
He writes that this point separated from the depths of creation. He states that from this point comes the embellishment of the mystic Elif. Through this point, the divine will was brought into being, and upon it, all things were founded.
You know, this sounds an awful lot like the Big Bang, but instead of a physical singularity of super dense matter exploding to create time and space, it's like a Big Bang of spiritual reality.
That is a very apt parallel, though we do have to be careful not to force modern physics onto 19th century mysticism.
Sure, fair enough.
But to truly understand this, we have to understand the specific tool the Bab is using to describe the universe. He is utilizing a profound Islamic esoteric tradition called Ilm al-Huruf.
Ilm al-Huruf. And what is that?
It translates to the science of letters.
The science of letters. Okay, explain how that works.
Well, in this metaphysical system, the universe is conceived of as a book, the book of existence.
Okay.
Reality itself is text. And how is a book written? It starts with letters. The alphabet is the fundamental building block of reality, much like atoms are the building blocks of physical matter.
Okay, so if the universe is a book, how does the writing actually begin? I mean, think of a pen hovering over a blank piece of paper. The very first thing that happens when the tip of the ink touches the page is a single, infinitely small dot. A point.
Yes. The point is the absolute singularity. It represents the first emanation of the divine will.
The very first thing. Exactly. It is the boundary between the completely unknowable, unmanifested essence of God and the beginning of creation. God is the writer, but the writer is forever hidden behind the pen.
We can't see the writer.
Right. The first thing we can actually perceive in the universe is the ink touching the page.
The point.
And then the pen moves.
And when the point moves, it draws a line. In Arabic calligraphy, if you take the pen and draw a single vertical stroke straight down from the dot, you create the first letter of the alphabet, the Aleph.
The mystic Aleph.
Exactly. The point extends and becomes the Aleph. The Bab writes about the white Aleph and how it embellishes reality. Because once you have that single vertical line, what can you do?
You can shape it.
Right. You can curve it, you can bend it, you can shorten it, you can combine it to create every single other letter in the alphabet.
Wow.
And from those letters, you build words. From words, you build sentences, paragraphs, chapters, and eventually the entire book of existence. That is just a staggering way to visualize reality. Everything in existence, every galaxy, every ocean, every human soul is just an extension of that initial divine point.
Yes.
The point moves, becomes the Aleph bends to become the universe. It's literally a spiritual physics equation based on geometry and language.
It is breathtakingly elegant. And we can relate this divine point directly back to the four pillars we discussed at the very beginning of this deep dive.
Let's do that. How do the ink and the letters map onto the four pillars?
Well, the initial dot of ink, the point itself, represents the divine will.
Yeah.
The first pillar, the unity of God, Tawhid.
Okay.
As the point drops down to form the vertical Aleph, it extends into creation as the prophet. The second pillar, Nubuwah. The prophet is the vertical line connecting heaven and earth.
Okay, I see where this is going. This is brilliant.
Then, the letters that branch off and are derived from the Aleph represent the imams, or the succession of authority. The third pillar, Walaya.
Right.
They take the initial revelation of the Aleph and articulate it into different forms. And the infinite combination of words and sentences that fill the pages of the Book of Existence.
That has to be the community.
Exactly. That is the community followers, the fourth pillar, Shia.
Wow. So the electrical circuit, the four-legged stool, the mirror reflecting the light, the ink forming letters on the page, it is all the exact same cosmic architecture described from different angles.
It really is. It's all interconnected.
It explains how a completely unseen, unknowable God actually interacts with a physical, chaotic universe. God doesn't just step into the universe, he lowers the pen.
Yes.
The point touches the paper, the Aleph is drawn, the pillars are established, and reality writes itself through the mortar of love.
It's a flawless system. It's just gorgeous. And yet, we cannot just leave it as an abstract, flawless system.
What do you mean?
Well, despite the staggering beauty of this cosmic geometry, we must remember the human reality of the author writing these words.
Oh, right, because it's easy for us to sit here in a studio and marvel at this beautiful cosmic geometry. But when you realize the man writing this was a 23 or 24-year-old living in Shiraz, experiencing immense personal tragedy.
Exactly.
The concept of a divine point of love takes on a totally different, almost agonizing weight.
We have to ground this in the lived reality of the Bab.
Mm-hmm.
We have to ask, what does it actually cost a human being to carry the knowledge of this divine point?
Yeah.
What is the human toll of being the one to articulate this reality while living in a society that is not ready to hear it?
The texts from this exact same period include some deeply intimate, just profoundly sorrowful writings. We really have to talk about what happened in 1843 regarding his infant son, Ahmad.
It is one of the most devastating pieces of writing in the archives. In 1843, just months before he would publicly declare his mission in May 1844, the Bab and his wife experienced an unimaginable loss.
Their only son.
Yes, their infant son named Ahmad died.
And we have the words he spoke, or rather wrote, upon this loss. And it's not just an expression of standard grief. He elevates the loss to a cosmic scale.
He does.
He cries out to God, and this breaks my heart. He says, "Would that 1,000 Ishmaels were given me, this Abraham of thine, that I might have offered them each and all as a loving sacrifice unto thee."
The grief is just palpable. But look at what he does with it. He compares himself to Abraham, who was asked to offer his son Ishmael as a sacrifice, but he amplifies it. 1,000 sons. He takes this unimaginable, crushing personal pain, and he transforms it into a spiritual sacrifice for the future of humanity. He begs for this infancy to nourish the cause so that it becomes a mighty tree beneath which all peoples can gather.
He is experiencing the ultimate fracturing of the human heart, the loss of a child, and he is filtering it through that exact same engine of love we talked about earlier.
Exactly, the lover and the beloved.
But contrast that intense inner cosmic conviction. I mean, he calls himself the Abraham of God with his outward behavior at the very same time.
The tension is extraordinary. In a letter to his uncle from this same period, he insists on absolute restraint.
Complete secrecy.
Right. He tells his family and followers not to attribute to him anything beyond strict adherence to the subsidiary ordinances of Islam. He explicitly states that the cause has not yet attained maturity, nor have the appointed time arrived.
Imagine putting yourself in his shoes for a moment. Just try to wrap your head around it.
It's nearly impossible.
You realize you hold a world-changing truth. You know that you are connected to the divine point. You hold the cosmic singularity inside you, and you have just sacrificed your infant son to nourish it. But you have to get up the next morning, go to work at the merchant shop in the bazaar, haggle over the price of indigo and spices, smile at your neighbors, and hide this reality.
Because the world simply isn't ready. The scaffolding is still up. The time isn't right.
It's like trying to hide a supernova in a glass jar. The sheer discipline it must have taken to not just shout it from the rooftops.
It speaks to the absolute necessity of timing in spiritual growth, both for humanity collectively and for the individual.
How so?
Just as the Bab exercised immense, painful discipline to conceal the truth until the exact right moment, the appointed time in May 1844, anyone on a spiritual path must also understand that true ripening requires patience.
It requires suffering.
It requires suffering. It requires the wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. The cause had not yet attained maturity. The winter must run its course before the spring can arrive, no matter how much you hold the sun in your heart.
You cannot force the scaffolding to come down before the mortar is dry.
Exactly.
That is a profound place to land. Let's trace the map we've unrolled today to see the entire journey we've taken through these texts.
It's been quite a journey.
We started with the architectural blueprint of the Risala Fi Suluk, the 4 structural pillars of religion, where the absolute unity of God is mathematically unsound without a connected, loving community of people.
Right, and we discovered that the mortar holding those pillars together is a cosmic engine of love, designed to slowly move humanity past the rigid scaffolding of historical rules into a mature fourth covenant written directly on the heart.
And then we learned how to navigate this inward journey by polishing the mirror of our own psychology. We realized that casting away the self doesn't mean self-hatred. It means wiping away the smudges of the ego so we can finally reflect the divine light.
Beautifully said. We zoomed out to the tafsir to witness the spiritual Big Bang of the divine point, the first touch of ink on the page of existence, dropping down into the mystic Aleph to write the universe into being.
And finally, we grounded all of that soaring metaphysics in the deeply human patience, the agonizing grief, and the incredible restraint required to carry a world-changing secret while working in a 19th century bazaar.
It is a journey from the absolute heights of abstract theology to the absolute depths of human sorrow, all united by a single, unwavering purpose.
And as you go about your day, dealing with your own community, your own ego, and your own mirror, I want you to remember your own inward journey. The same divine point that wrote the universe into existence is reflecting in the mirror of your own heart. The power plant is generating the electricity. You just have to make sure your light bulb is screwed in.
And I want to leave you with one final, lingering concept to mull over. We talked extensively about the hidden treasure, the tradition where God says, I was a hidden treasure and I love to be known, so I created creation.
Right.
Think about what that actually means for you right now as a person who seeks out knowledge.
The person who clicked play on this deep dive.
Exactly. Your insatiable curiosity. The very reason you tuned in today to listen to this breakdown of dense, complex 19th century Persian theology, it isn't just a personal quirk. It's not just a hobby to pass the time.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. If God is the hidden treasure wanting to be known, and creation is the mechanism for that knowing, then your personal desire to learn, to discover, to understand the universe and your place in it, that is actually the universe fulfilling its own deepest purpose through you.
Your curiosity is the divine point emotion. The map is in your hands. Keep exploring.